Celebrating 30 years of phenomenal trend forecasting, here's Gerald Celente with today's trends in the news.
Hi, this is Gerald Celente, and here are some of today's trends in the news. Well, the news is still gun control. Why don't they try some birth control too? Maybe they'll fix that. How can anybody in their right mind believe that the jerks in Washington can fix anything? Everything they have done so far has been a failure, whether it's education, whether it's those lovely wars, whether it's health care, whether it's the war on drugs and prohibition. Everything they do, they fail when they try to stop something like this. This isn't a gun problem, it's a mental problem. And the mental disease is being fed by these psychotropic drugs. There's story after story. And there's this controversy going on with this Piers Morgan. I don't like the guy. He's an arrogant guy. I listen to his comments, and he calls people names. I don't like that. And he has no right, as a foreigner, telling Americans what the Constitution is about or how it reads. Because the little English wanker, the little English Wally, is from the same country over there that tried to enslave the people here. He has no right to shoot off his fat little mouth and tell us what we should do and how we should behave. Go back home. Go back home. Stop using our airwaves to spread your English propaganda. That's improper for us. You in the nation with the highest crime rate in Europe to tell us how we should behave. You go back home. Listen to this. This fellow Shapiro is on his show. He said, "Why do you need those weapons?" he asks Shapiro. "They need them for the protective possibility for the resistance of tyranny, which is not a concern today. It may not be a concern tomorrow." "Where do you expect the tyranny to come from?" Morgan asks. "It could come from the United States, because governments have gone tyrannical before." Piers. Morgan. "Do you know how absurd you sound? Do you know how absurd you sound with that fat little guddle on his neck?" If he came to me and said how absurd he'd sound, the cat would be on the ground. Hey, Hitler wasn't that too long ago, fat boy. And you wouldn't have been there fighting him. You know what you would have been? You would have been one of the propaganda guys, rather than lose your life. You would have been great with Goebbels. Fat boy. Absurd. Oh, you don't like being called fat boy? But you could call people absurd that believe the governments are tyrannical? How about Italy? Fat boy. You'd be the propaganda minister for Mussolini. This isn't ancient history, folks. Government becoming tyrannical? Look what's going on in the United States. Warrantless wiretapping. We're being watched by them. Who the hell are they? Where are our freedoms? And why are the people so afraid to speak up? Lose our freedoms? Absurd. How about the National Defense Authorization Act, which allows El Presidente to take anybody away that they want, accusing them of having ties to terrorism? Absurd. Fat boy. How dare you? Leave this country. Get the hell out of here. There's no place in America for propagandists like you from other nations telling us how we should behave. Fat boy. Shapiro answered, here's where you go into the absurd and the bullying. You're absurd. You're stupid. I understand. And then fat boy cuts him off. I'm not bullying. Of course you are. You're not bullying because you don't have the balls. You're only a tough guy behind the microphone. Fat boy. Stop telling Americans what we should do. Get him off the air. Enough of it. And now Al Gore sold us out with Al Jazeera. Our airwaves are being taken over. They don't allow people like me on. Fat boy. Talking about selling out? Here you go. Here you go. Al Gore. China's foreign trade grew 6.2% in 2012. And the surplus with the United States rose 8.2%. Surplus? No, no. We're buying more of their crap than we're selling them. And by big numbers. That's right. China's trade with the United States in 2012 grew 8.5% year on year to $484 billion, accounting for 12.5% of China's total foreign trade. Outbound shipments to the United States were worth $351.79 billion in 2012, up 8.4% year on year, while imports from the U.S. rose 8.8% to $132 billion. You got it? Sell out. Clinton sold us out with NAFTA. Bush sold us out with the World Trade Organization. And now the networks are selling us out by bringing foreigners in to tell us what we should believe. This is subliminal crap. When Fat Boy says absurd, when people put absurd and say that America could become a tyrannical government. It is already. We are losing our freedoms at every moment. More on China. Trade disputes mean tough winter for Chinese. Chinese companies have been suffering from growing number of anti-dumping investigations amid mounting trade protectionism from around the world. And this is from China Daily. Quote, China will have more trade frictions in 2013, and I hope domestic enterprises are well prepared, said Wei Jingzhao, Vice Chairman and Secretary General of China's Center for International Economic Exchanges. Last year, China received 53 remedy investigations by the end of November, affecting $2.4 billion in exports, 7 times the amount of 2011. Panic, depression, currency wars, trade wars, and world wars. Russian Navy to hold biggest ever exercise. Moscow. Warships from all Russia's naval fleets will gather in the Mediterranean Sea to hold the biggest ever exercise, according to Russia's defense minister. Quote, Russian ships are staying in the Mediterranean in line with their program. They are preparing for the biggest interfleet exercise in the country's history, the minister said after a secure video conference with President Vladimir Putin. War. The psychopaths are leading us to war. And as this breaks down, they have all the laws in place in the United States to turn this into a fascist country that it's already becoming with the merger of state and corporate powers. That's right. Look at this. You want to see a disgusting picture? Look at this picture. This Hamid Karzai goes to Washington. Yeah, Mr. Smith used to go to Washington. Look at all the flunkies lined up behind him. There got to be 100 guys or more in uniform saluting this piece of crap, this corrupt government that he's been running that's stealing all our money. I'm tired of these elitists, these new noblemen, these new prime ministers and presidents and chancellors who act as though they are royalty. And just like the royalty of the past, they got all them flunkies saluting. Who's paying for this? We are. How come these guys aren't working? 100 guys. I could use 100 guys here. I got a lot of things to do rather than dressing them up in uniforms to salute some asshole. Oh, I'm sorry I offended anybody. You pay your money. You like saluting. I salute. This is Gerald Celente, and that's some of today's Trends in the News.